The Canadian government just dropped a $78 billion bombshell on your family's future, and they're hoping you won't notice it in your daily lives, at least not immediately. It's been wrapped in pretty language, full of promises about investing in our future and making the rich pay their fair share. But that's not what it really is. It's actually a really risky tightrope for the Canadian economy with a very, very high chance of going nowhere. And yet, your signature is on it whether you like it or not. Today, I want to talk about four biggest shortcomings in this budget plan. I want you to understand exactly how their out of control spending is a direct assault on your wallet, your children's future, and the very foundation of this country. But what's most shocking is not the deficit itself, it's the one hidden tax buried deep in this document that will make an entire generation of Canadians poor. Take a second to guess what that is. And if you cannot guess immediately, hang on for a few minutes and hear me out. The first and the most audacious shortcoming is the claim that this government has any concept of fiscal discipline. They talk about spending less to invest more and reining in government operations. It's a bad joke. For the last decade, this government has been on a spending spree. Now, after driving the national credit card into the stratosphere, one shouldn't expect a cookie for promising to slow down. And let's talk about the real numbers here. They are projecting a deficit of $78.3 billion for this year alone. Please don't call it an investment because that's a gaping wound. This 1 year of humongous spending gets piled onto our national debt, which is now projected to hit nearly $1.445 trillion. This is the equivalent of $34,708.83 of debt per Canadian, or $43,550.77 per taxpayer who fills out a tax return. A number so large it's almost meaningless. But here's what it means for you. Every dollar of the debt comes with interest. This year, Canadian taxpayers will burn $55.6 billion just on public debt charges. That's $55 billion that doesn't build a single road, fund a single hospital, or hire a single teacher. That's money we are lighting on fire to pay for the bad decisions of the past, unfortunately. It's a tribute we are forced to pay to our creditors, all because our government lacks the moral fortitude to stop spending money it doesn't have. They call this fiscal discipline. I call it what it is, a lost generation in the making. The second shortcoming is actually the oldest trick in the playbook. Whenever the government needs more money, and more of your money, they promise that they will only take it from the rich. They create a boogeyman and tell you they're going after him, but they always end up picking your pocket instead. This budget is no different. It's filled with vague promises about tax fairness, but the real tax burden, as always, will fall on the middle class and the small businesses that are the backbone of this country. They talk a big game about creating a competitive marketplace and incentivizing business investment. But how can a business invest when it's being suffocated? This budget spending spree is the single biggest driver of inflation. That's a tax on everybody. It makes the gas you put in your car, the groceries you buy for your family, and the materials a small business needs to operate more expensive. They offer so-called investment tax credits and productivity super deduction. Sounds amazing and great, right? But these are usually complex schemes that primarily benefit large, well-connected corporations who can afford armies of accountants to navigate the bureaucratic maze. Your local pizza place doesn't have the strategic financial framework department, or maybe it does and we don't know about it. The third shortcoming is the real tax that is the one they don't want you to talk about, the crushing weight of the debt they are accumulating in your name. Every dollar of the $78 billion deficit is a future tax, and it will be paid and accounted for, not by some mythical class of self-righteous people, but by you. through higher income taxes, higher sales taxes, and the slow, painful erosion of your purchasing power. The fourth one is perhaps the most insulting shortcoming of all. The government would have you believe this river of borrowed money is being poured into nation building projects that will secure our future prosperity. But there are so many leaks in this capital commitment that it's just shocking. No wonder the world continues to think that Canada must be a really wealthy country, that it has money to spend on what most would consider secondary categories. And while they're chasing these green unicorns, what about the actual foundations of our country? Our military needs major upgrades, yet they boast about finally hitting the 2% NATO defense target as if they deserve credit for showing up half a decade late to their own commitment. Our infrastructure is crumbling and our healthcare system is bursting at the seams. People spend 12 hours waiting to even be seen by a doctor at Emerge. Our youth unemployment rate is off the records. Housing affordability is at an all-time low. Our seniors are scared that they may need to go back to work and come out of retirement just to afford their current standard of living. And here we are saying that we are nation building. Guys, seriously? We're in the process of nation dismantling, and it's so unfortunate. Our reliable and affordable energy sector is still stifled and shackled. We are prioritizing abstract, progressive buzzwords over the basic needs of actual living Canadians. They will tell you that this is for your children, but the only thing they're building for your children is a poorer, weaker, and potentially less sovereign Canada. And that brings us to the hidden tax, the one they will never admit to. One could say, thankfully, it's not a line item on your tax return. But unfortunately, that's what makes it far more potent and dangerous. It's the death of ambition. It's the slow grinding halt of economic progress. My dear friends, this hidden tax is stagnation. When a government sucks this much capital out of the system, when it burdens the nation with this much debt, and when it punishes investment with endless regulation and taxation, what happens? The economy suffocates. The budget itself admits that the business investment is falling and that uncertainty is the most pressing concern for Canadian firms. Here's the fun fact. The term uncertainty appears 74 times in this year's budget. The government sees this, and its solution is to spend on things where the ROI is nebulous. How does this make sense again? This is the kind of action that leads to lost decades, a future where our children have fewer opportunities than we did, where the best and brightest leave for countries that reward hard work instead of punishing it, where made in Canada becomes a historical slogan, not a reality. Now, they did throw a few crumbs to the masses. A targeted tax break here, a small program there. These are designed to make you feel like you got something to distract you while they auction off our future. Please don't fall for it. The path we are on is unsustainable, and this is not a partisan issue. It is a mathematical one. A moral one. A nation cannot borrow its way to prosperity. A government cannot spend its citizens into wealth. I did another episode on how Canada cannot afford another massive budget deficit, and yet here we are. Watch that if you have a few minutes. It is time to demand a government that serves the people and not its own ambitions. A government that understands a budget is not a wish list but a sacred trust. And that trust has been broken again in 2025. Read this budget for yourself. Don't take my word for it and then demand better, because they're not just spending money, they're spending your children's future. And the bill is coming due, and someone needs to hold them to account. Thank you for watching.